transfer window has closed. Of course, all the managers have done their business. Not until January now do those managers have another opportunity to go out and strengthen the squad. Paddy, who has for you done the best business? And I'm talking about just recruiting players, money going out, money coming in. Tell us who's done the best piece of business.
Well, sometimes your best business is keeping a player, who even if he wants to go, and that's why possibly the best single piece of business for me was Southampton keeping Morgan Schneiderlin. For me, he's the best deep midfield player in the country, in the league, or up there with the best. And keeping him along with James Ward-Prowse has given Southampton a solidity which I think has left them in a position in the Barclays Premier League which has possibly even surprised Ronald Koeman and the fans. So that would stand out. But really, in terms of the, if you like, the heavy end of things, Chelsea, magnificent. They've any slight gaps that there were in the team, centre forward, wide left back, if you like, left back when you're bombing forward, and midfield in the wake of Lampard's departure have been filled in the best possible way. To leave Diego Costa, Philippe Luis, the attacking left back, will be important as the season goes on, though he's not in the team at the moment. But he gives you left and right at full back. Better, I guess, when you're going forward than having two right footers. The Cesc Fabregas is, well, we know he's a magnificent Premier League player. And leave the best to the last. Diego Costa is shaping up as the player of the season. I mean, he could be to this season what Luis Suarez was to last.
When you think about the business that Chelsea did going the other way, and I'm going back to Juan Mata, David Luiz, Kevin De Bruyne as well, and don't forget, Lukaku left for £28 million. You put £4 million on top of that, you get Diego Costa.
It is extraordinary. They've lost three players that Jose Mourinho didn't want, and got three that everyone in the world wanted for the same money. And if that is a good business, I don't know what is.
What's it like, Curbs, going into the transfer? You and I touched on it before. When you're sitting down with your squad and coming in as the back end of it, there's all these last minute deals. I'll never understand why transfer deadline day is so chaotic. Why do managers and clubs leave it so late?
It's interesting. It depends what side of the fence you're on. If you want to buy someone, then you're phoning around, and the magic word is yes. When someone says yes, you can have him. But then the other side of it is what Southampton felt, I suppose, this year, is when people phone up for your player, and you don't want that phone to ring, and you know it's coming, but you don't want it to ring. And for clubs like Southampton, etc., when the big club phones for that player, the only thing you can really hope for is that they do it right and pay the right fee, which they did with Luke Shaw, which they did with Lallana. It's when they start mucking about and start offering you less money than you know what the player's worth, and you know that player's desperate to go to the club. You know that player is going to come and see you and say, they're going to give me a 4-year deal. Yeah, but we can give you a 4-year deal. But they're going to treble my money. Oh, we can't treble your money. I'm going to a top 4 club. We ain't a top 4 club. So you're on the back foot. So the transfer market, all depends what side of the fence you're on, is very, very different and difficult. But for me, not many of the managers nowadays have to balance the books. I know you just spoke about Mourinho, who's done fantastically well. But it comes to that last minute madness is because you've had 3 games, and if people have started off okay, then they feel a little bit more relaxed about it, and they want to keep their squad together. They don't really want to do any business, but they don't want the phone to ring from one of theirs, because suddenly you've got a domino effect. So the worst possible thing what can happen to you, as I said earlier, as a manager, is what happened to Harry Redknapp when Chelsea come in for Remy. Right at the last minute, and they can't do anything about it to try and replace him. And that was done really late. But I think that when you see what the manager's done, it's very interesting. Vastly experienced Mourinho, got all his business done, went on holiday on deadline day, really. I know they got Remy in the end, but he got his squad sorted out. Man City to a certain extent done it. The only thing that disappointed me about Man City, and it may come back to haunt them, is letting the Grado go. Because when you look at the squad, of Chelsea and Man City, I think Man City just edge it up top when it comes to strength. When they had Aguero, Dzeko, Negredo, Jovetic. Now what's happened is Negredo's gone, Jovetic is out injured. So they're stuck with two, and I thought they had the upper hand over Chelsea. But then you see people scrambling around at the end. Man United scrambling around at the end like they were last year, which is a big problem. And you know, I think one of the reasons they were left like that, last minute stuff, paying over the odds, is because I think Van Gaal come into the club late. He's not been in club football for a couple of years. So actually getting to know the players that he needed. He hadn't been in Man United long enough to assess the squad, which, you know, was, I think when you look at it, if they look at this season, Man United, in next summer, they won't do that again.
Yeah, I think they had their fingers burnt the previous summer when Ed Woodward, the director of operations, yeah, and Ed Woodward came in and thought he'd be clever and started offering Everton silly money for. I mean, in the end, they paid a lot for Fellaini, but the initial bids for both him and Leighton Baines were a joke for players of that class, and I think they now know, and they've learned this summer that, you know, they're Man United. They're expected to spend 60 million, and you know, whatever they'll pay for Falcao if they do take him, it'll be over 50 anyway.
Well, I mean, let's talk about Manchester United for a second, the transfer window. It seems that there was a little bit of a scattergun approach.
Yes.
No one's going to turn down Di Maria. No one's going to turn down Falcao. But the areas that they didn't identify, which is an absolute mystery to me, is when you look at Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, who moved on. Okay, maybe Rio was coming towards the end of his career, but they didn't go out and spend the money where I felt they had to go and spend it. They're after Vermaelen, was a centre half. And you look at where they are now. Jones is out injured. Evans is injured. Brackett has picked up a red card. Yes. So now all of a sudden they're very, very short in the area.
Yes, but you look just across Manchester and Mangala, who is exactly the player Manchester United needed, or one of the two players Manchester United needed most. He's gone to Manchester City. Now, they had to pay 32, 34 million for it. They had to pay a lot for a young player who's not a current international. But Manchester United should still, if they were paying over the odds, they should have paid over the odds for a player they need, rather than a sort of superabundance of players that they're going to have to.
And that goes back to what I said earlier. I think identifying what you need early on, which Mourinho did, because he assessed it last year, and he went, I need this club to be where it should be. I need a left back. I need a creative midfield player. I need a proper centre forward. And they went out and done their business early. They identified their targets. I think Van Gaal coming in late to Man United after the World Cup, then assessing his squad in a frenzied situation in America, where they're playing every other day and in a tournament. I don't think he then realised the extent of where he needed to shore up that defence. No. So, you know, they went for Raho and eventually got him, but they look as if they need another couple of defenders to complement all that stuff going forward. So they can't do nothing about it now.
And they've got, of course, a January window coming up, but I mean, nobody's going to be falling over themselves. I mean, Borussia Dortmund aren't going to say, "Oh, we're going to forget all about the Champions League. You can have Mats Hummels." They're not going to say that in January.
The players they're going to want are going to still be in the Champions League. Once they're out, they probably don't want.
Yes.
Let's talk about Liverpool. Luis Suarez, of course, the much maligned Luis Suarez, left for a huge amount of money, and you know, they're always going to pay that sort of fee for him. But replacing him has turned out to be rather difficult for Brendan Rodgers. Replacing him is probably impossible, but he's brought in a number of players to do that job. What have you made of the dealings down there?
Well, I first started thinking that we all knew, in some respect, that Suarez was going to go at some stage. And they sort of seem to have been caught on the hop a little bit, that when he did go, they suddenly got this money to spend. What disappointed me about what Brendan did, he lost 35 goals and all sorts of other things from Suarez. And he went and spent 4 million on Ricky Lambert. Well, he should have been spending 40 million in that position.
Where did you find another Suarez?
No. What I'm saying is he needed a marquee centre forward, I think, to come in.
Is Balotelli not that marquee signing?
May well be. I mean, I don't know, but I think that he wasn't first choice because they went for Remy. What I'm saying is, it seemed to me they lost 35 goals and all the assists and all the mayhem that Suarez caused. But Brendan spent 4 million on Lambert early on, and then started building up from the back, and was spending 20 million on Lovren, and this and this and this and this, and then got to deadline day, and then we all hear that Balotelli's a bargain. Forget bargains. When you're in the top four, you don't buy bargains. You buy marquee. So I'd have thought, buy the centre forward, proper money, and then come backwards because you lost 35 goals.
Where in the world is there a centre forward like Luis Suarez?
Well,
I've been watching football for,
the point is,
for
Patrick,
half a century. I've never seen a player like him before.
Yeah, but the point is, Patrick,
Mayhem's the word.
Yeah.
That's what he's got.
the point
that nobody
is,
else has.
Kenny Dalglish did it. Kenny Dalglish went and spent 25 million on it and found that player. You've just been marvelling over Costa. Why didn't they go for Costa? They
Not as
knew.
good as Suarez.
No, but you're not gonna replace Suarez. What I'm saying is, you've got to do something. When you sell your goals, you've got to do something about it. And I'm saying, no disrespect, you needed a marquee centre forward. So they went and spent 4 million, not 34 million. So I think Man City bought Aguero. Negredo.
Should they have fought Arsenal for Alexis Sanchez? Or is he a different player?
Absolutely. He may be a different player, but what I'm
But he's
saying
got the
is,
same work rate and energy and hatred of defenders.
yeah, I just think that a manager once said to me a long while ago, when you sell your goals, you're in trouble, and you must replace somehow. And I think Liverpool sold their goals.
Yeah.
And they obviously didn't want them, but they set about replacing him from the back upwards. It needed to be from the front that way.
It's a little like Tottenham losing Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
When it leaves such a huge hole in your team that even if you spend every penny of the money you receive, it's very difficult to replace that game-changing quality that Suarez provided, and so did Bale for Spurs.
I know that was a long one, but it
We've led into